Hi there, it's Jeanette. Thanks for joining me. Today is day 2 of my Christmas series for 2018, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing some batch work. Now, more and more, this is how I've started to craft. I like to have my images ready for me when I want to work on a project. So these are the little Agenda Santa images from Mama Elephant, and you can see I have them already die cut and colored and ready to go, and I store them in the same pocket I store the stamps and dies. So I'm going to take you through how I do this, and we're going to be using the little reindeer agenda stamps for this. I'm going to start off by taking all those metal dies and detaching them one from the other. And I do this with a wire clipper. And I try to, for the most part, get them all done before I start anything else, because this is the part I like the least, I have to admit. So once they're all separated, I do like to trim off the sort of jagged edges that are on some of them. And to do this, I find it easier to sort of put them into a bowl and clip them right into the bowl so that those little tiny pieces don't fly everywhere. I would never want somebody to get hurt with them or step on them, or, I don't know. I think they're a little dangerous. So I think this is the reason why I don't like doing this part. So I like to get it done and over with, and then I just take them all and I slip them back into that pocket. Now I cut a piece of Neenah cardstock in half, and I'm placing one of the pieces on my MISTI. And now I'm going to take all those little tiny stamps and I'm going to line them up on the Neenah cardstock. I'm being really careful to leave enough space around them so that when it comes time to die cutting them, the dies will all fit on the paper at the same time, and I just have to pass them through one time. Now there are some tiny little sort of like a little hat and a little toque. And unfortunately, when I put this piece of Post-it tape there just to make sure the paper was more secure, I ended up covering the place where they're going to stamp, so I'm not going to have those. Now, I like to use a MISTI because I like to stamp a couple of times to get a really nice dark impression. I don't like pressing too hard on the stamps, especially these clear ones. I find that if you press too hard, it sort of makes the line, it sort of pushes them down and makes the line too thick. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. Anyway, so I like to sort of take the approach of lightly stamping it several times, and I find I get a better end product. Now I took that first piece of cardstock out and I put the second piece right in, exact same place, and I'm going to stamp them a second time. Then I like to clean all those stamps right away and replace them right back on that acetate. Because the images are printed on the acetate, I can make sure that I have all my stamps, that none of them have sort of, gone on a walkabout, have disappeared or stuck to something else. I really don't want to lose any of them, especially the tiny ones. Now we're going to get to the coloring. Now, because they're all little reindeer, I'm going to color them all the same way. I'm going to show you just 3 of them, but in general, I will work on maybe like 6 of them at the same time. I find that for me, that's as quick as I can color without the ink drying up too much in between. So just basic coloring here, 3 colors for the reindeer, a little bit of blending, and it goes really, really quickly. So I like to do this either sitting in front of the TV, or if one of my kids is in my craft room with me, sort of sitting, they like to sit across from me. We'll do some chatting. So it's sort of a social thing. I don't have to pay too much attention because I'm doing all of the little guys the same way. So I'm going to also do the antlers. Now I'm going to do them in a different earth tone. So this is sort of, I would say, a more taupier color, whereas the actual reindeer were more warm in color. And I just think that sort of makes a little bit of a difference, and it's just a nice touch. I'm going to color in the nose with a very dark marker. Now I didn't color all of the noses brown. Some of them I colored red so that the reindeer could be Rudolph. And then I did take a little white pen and add dot detail. So here they are all finished. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the dies, I'm going to place them over top, secure them with Post-it tape, and run them through my die cutting machine. Then I'm going to pop them all out. I'm going to take that piece of paper, you can see it, it's sitting on top of that second piece of cardstock that I stamped. I secured it together, and now all I have to do with those dies is just match them and sort of fit them in jigsaw style. Just sort of make sure that they've sort of sunk into place. I put the Post-it tape on it to make sure they're secure, and I die cut them again. It's really quick. You don't spend a whole lot of time lining everything up that way. So that's a nice little trick. Then they're all going to be put away. Now you're going to ask, some of them were colored and some of them weren't. And I purposely did that so I could show you what I do. Sometimes I stamp a second batch, die cut them, and they're not colored and they're teeny tiny. So what I do is I take a piece of Post-it note stickies, I guess. This one has the sticky on the whole back side, not just like a small portion. That way I can take my little images, stick them on top, and they're all secure. They're all in one little place for me, and I can go ahead and do some batch coloring again. So same thing here. I colored the Santas. I colored all their faces. I'm going to color all their hats, all their little outfits. And again, it's just sort of very relaxing. I don't really have to think beyond the first one when I choose the colors. I just sort of do everything else the same way. And these are tiny little stamps, so you don't have to do a whole lot of blending. Sometimes 2 colors are really all you need. And I bet you could even get away with coloring just 1 shade because they're so tiny. So these are the hats being done, and I'm going to go ahead, after these hats are done, I'm going to color all of the Santa outfits in the same way. I'm not going to show that because it would take a little bit more time than I want to spend, and I think you get the general idea of what I'm doing. Just taking that colorless blender and making sure that none of that ink sort of strays into areas it's not supposed to be in. So now you can see I have all the outfits colored. Going to go ahead and do the boots. I did color some of the trim black so that it looked like it was his belt. I didn't do that for all of them, just for a few of them. And then yeah, you can see I colored all the boots. Here I'm going to go and do the little cuffs or like the fur trim on his outfits. And to do that, I'm just taking some gray markers and just dotting the color. The darker marker will sort of be towards the edges, and the lighter marker will be dotting in at the edges, like sort of over top that, just to sort of blend it a little bit, and then a little bit into the middle. So that is how I do the fur trim. It's really quick. It's not exact, but it doesn't have to be exact, and it looks pretty nice, I think. I'm going to color in his mitts. At first I thought I was going to color them flesh color, but then I thought, no, I think I'm going to color them green, like he's actually wearing little mittens. Going to move ahead and do his beard. Now I'm also using gray for his beard, but to make it look different from the fur trim, I'm using warm gray instead of cool gray. Then I'm just going to color in the presents. Again, sometimes just 1 marker, sometimes if it's a large enough area, I'll use 2 markers to add a little bit of shading. But you can see how quick this is. And it is so gratifying and so fun to have all this done. I'm going to color his sack in. Again, just 2 colors, and I'm using those same colors for the cookie. So I'm trying to use the, like if I'm coloring brown, I try to color everything the same brown. The teddy bear is going to be the same brown, the sack, the cookie. I'm trying not to introduce too many colors. This is going to save me time. Coloring some things in yellow, one of the presents, those little lights on the Santa is holding there at the bottom. once that's all done, I'm going to work on the bunny. So again, these are the same grays I used for his trim. For the candy cane, I just drew a line along one side, and then I colored in every other section with red. You can see that. Then I finished up coloring anything that wasn't colored. I colored in like the bows and everything in red. Then I added a little bit of dot detail to the faux trim, and I drew a line down the center of that candy cane. And you can see it's all done now. I'm going to label a little package here, and I'm going to put all those little Santas into the package, and they're going to be ready for my next project. So that's it for this video. I am going to be sharing a little later on in another video how I used these little reindeers and these little Santas. I have a couple of fun projects planned, so they'll be coming soon. So don't forget to subscribe and hit that subscription bell so that you don't miss that. I know this is a bit of a different video, but I hope it sort of gives you an idea that maybe this might work for you, and it will make you a little bit more productive this Christmas season so that you get all your projects done. So thanks for joining me. I am going to leave a few other videos here that you might be interested in, some past Christmas series, and I look forward to sharing some more projects with you next time. Bye!